Hello and welcome. I am a hotel AI expert, and I'm pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical skills you'll ever need as a hotel leader: crisis management. We're going to focus specifically on the protocols for the front office, which, as you'll see, is the absolute nerve center of the entire hotel. The reality of running a hotel is that it doesn't matter how perfectly you plan everything out, your operation is always going to be vulnerable to some kind of crisis. It could be a total system meltdown, or it could be a full-scale building emergency. Look, the true test of a great hotel isn't about preventing every single crisis. That's just not possible. The real test is having solid, practiced protocols so you can stay calm, stay in control, and be effective when you're under maximum pressure. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by talking about why crises are, well, inevitable. Then we'll get into the specifics of a digital blackout and code red emergencies. After that, we'll tackle what we call a reputation firestorm. And we'll wrap it all up with the most critical step, the after-action phase, also known as the postmortem. Okay, let's jump right in. So why the front office? Why does everything seem to revolve around the front desk when things go wrong? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It is the nerve center of the hotel. Think about it. Its central location and, more importantly, its entire communication setup make it the natural command center for any crisis, whether it's a small technical glitch or a full-scale evacuation. Now, let's talk about what might be the single biggest non-emergency crisis a front office can face: a complete failure of the property management system, or the PMS. This is that IT meltdown scenario, and it can literally grind every single one of your core operations to a halt. When this happens, your response has to be instantaneous. The protocol for this kicks in the second the system goes down. Step 1 is an instant report. The agent on duty has to immediately figure out how bad it is. Is it just one computer, or is the whole network fried? Then they immediately escalate to the assistant front office manager and the director of IT. In these situations, there's absolutely, positively no time to waste. And this brings us to a really important question. When the digital heart of your entire operation just stops beating, what do you rely on? I'll give you a hint. The answer isn't another piece of technology. It's all about preparation. The answer is your manual backup kit, or MBK. You can think of this thing as your analog lifeline. It's a pre-packed physical kit that has everything you need to keep the hotel running when the digital systems go dark. Your standard operating procedure should be crystal clear. System fails, you immediately switch to the MBK. So, what's actually inside this super important kit? Well, you'll find things like old-school manual registration cards for check-ins, a physical rooming board that's usually prepared by the night audit team, info on how to manually encode room keys, paper folio forms to track guest charges, and of course, a secure emergency cash float. Every single item in here is designed to keep the hotel's doors open. But of course, system failures are just one kind of crisis. Now we're going to shift gears from protecting business operations to something way, way more important: protecting people. During a building-wide emergency, like a fire or a major security threat, the role of the front office completely transforms. Now, what's really interesting here is how hotels communicate without causing widespread panic. They use internal codes, just like these. These codes let staff communicate clearly and, more importantly, discreetly. Announcing code red over the internal radio system triggers a trained response from the team, but it doesn't necessarily alarm all the guests in the lobby. It's smart. During a real emergency, a front desk agent's job flips from service to safety. Your priorities totally change. The focus immediately becomes notifying the authorities, both inside and outside the hotel, calmly directing guests to muster points, helping anyone who might have mobility issues, securing sensitive assets and documents, and, this is absolutely critical, logging every single action you take for the official record. Not all crises involve ringing alarms or crashed computers. Some of the most damaging crises are actually severe service failures. These are the ones that can ignite what we call a reputation firestorm. Just imagine a huge tour group arriving after a long flight to find out that none of their rooms are ready. The stakes in a moment like that are just incredibly high. The response to this has to be swift and decisive. First, you form an empowered recovery team whose only job is to triage the problem and focus all the hotel's resources on the affected guests. And that word empowered is key. This team has the authority to take immediate action and deliver compensation that goes way beyond the value of the actual failure itself. This brings us to the guiding principle of service recovery. You don't just fix the problem, you have to address the guest's emotional state and all the stress you've caused. So if a room isn't ready, the fix isn't just finding another room. No way. The fix is a suite upgrade, a complimentary dinner, a sincere personal apology from a manager, and an experience so positive that it turns a disaster into a story about incredible service. Okay, so the crisis has been managed, the guests are safe, the systems are back online, service has been recovered. You might think the work is done, but it's not. We are now entering the final and, I would argue, the most important phase of crisis management, turning the whole incident into a powerful lesson. And you do this through a post-mortem. This is a formal review of everything that happened. Now, the goal here is not to assign blame, because that just shuts down honest feedback. The real goal is to understand the root cause of the failure, and then use that knowledge to fix your procedures and improve your training so it never happens again. This is how excellent organizations become truly elite. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. When the dust finally settles and the crisis is officially over, what is your very next move? A true hospitality leader knows the answer. You begin the post-mortem. Because the end of one crisis is always the beginning of an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to build a stronger, more resilient operation for whatever comes next.